The February meeting of the Farmville Board of Commissioners. We appreciate you taking the time to be involved in this local governing process. Tonight we're pleased to have with us Rick Bailey. Rick is the pastor of the First Baptist Church here in Farmville, and he's going to come and lead us in our invocation, after which I'll ask you to join with us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let all rise, please.
Let us pray together. God, as these gather together here this evening, intent on doing good work, may they seek to represent fairly and well the citizens of the Farmville community who have given them the role of commissioner. May their efforts be blessed with insight. May they seek to understand rather than being understood, and then, guided by that understanding and resulting wisdom, may they make decisions beneficial to our community. May they seek to serve with respect for all, and may their personal faiths give them the strength to act honestly and well in all matters before them this night, acting in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. We ask all this in the name of the one, the great Creator, God the Father. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I want to extend a welcome to you for being here. And if you, there are agendas on the back table back there as you came in, and you please pick up one so you can follow along with the proceedings here this evening. Now, if you have one, you'll see the citizen presentation is next, and that's where we allow you or ask you to address this board about anything that is on or off the agenda. We do ask you to sign up before the meeting, and we have two people who have signed up. One of them is Kathy Holmes. You want to come forward?
Yeah, we printed the things as we come. Hello, my name is Kathy Holmes. I'm representing the Farmville Senior Council.
I don't know. It didn't sound like it. Where's Brian? Is he here? Brian,
Is it on?
yeah, it sounds like it's on. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm coming here because we're running out of money. When Chester was picking up our ladies, he was only doing it 2 days a week, and now he's doing it 5 as of June. So, and the gas went up, and so he's also being paid to do the driving, so it's costing more. So the $2,000 he gave us back in July is just about gone, and we were asking for $4,000 back then. So what we're trying to get is maybe another $2,000 to fill out the rest of this year, like July.
Okay.
So, Amelia was going to print out nicely the comparison, so when she comes, we'll have that for you.
All right.
Okay? It was comparing if you had to get a ride with a taxi, or an Uber, or with tax. And they all charge an exorbitant amount compared to what we do. So that was a comparison, and we are doing some fundraising. When they had that Giving Tuesday back in November, I put it on Facebook, and I actually had some folks who did, so I had him pledge. We've also been able to collect some donations, and we've even had some of the members who have pledged so much per month to help with raising. So we've got a small membership fee for our group, trying to also collect some money. So, and we do not charge right now for the trips because we're fixed income, but this is what we've got.
Okay.
So if you'll go over that spreadsheet at the bottom, you'll be able to see where the difference is and what we're asking for, based on what we're saving the town. If we don't get any more money, then we will not be able to be in the transportation business, and our seniors cannot get to the senior center and do the trips.
Okay. All right, let us look over this, and we'll be in touch with you.
All right, thank you.
Okay? Thank you. All right, thank you, Kathy. Stephen Hardcroft, you're next up. How'd you get your name on the list before you got here? Somebody else signed up for you?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have big news, an exciting possibility. As you may recall, 2 years ago, after working on that possibility for many years, I requested your endorsement and support to bring a couple thousand cyclists to town. You supported my efforts in doing so with a nominal amount of funding that was spent to make our town more welcoming and safer for everyone to ride about, around, and through. Together, we purchased and installed several cycling-related signs that meant as everyday reminders to everyone that roads would be shared safely with respect. The Visitors Conventions Bureau, our town merchants, artists, citizens, Chamber of Commerce, Public Works, as well as the fire and police departments, all worked together to ensure our visitors were welcome and supported as they visited our town. There were no significant problems or conflicts because of our preparations. We were voted the best ride stop for that year's ride across the whole state. Many cyclists have since returned to ride, shop, eat, and explore our town. Several cyclists, as you remember, even contacted the towns afterwards to acknowledge what we accomplished. Because of that warm welcome, the Cycle North Carolina group agreed to ride through Pitt County last year during the spring ride. Last week, CNC let it be publicly known that Greenville will be an overnight host on October 3rd of this year. This is something that I've been advocating for about 12 years, longer than I've been coming here almost every single month to speak to you about completing work on our sidewalks, non-motorized vehicular infrastructure. This is met in 241 days from today, puts us in a prime location to be something no other community in our state has ever become. We are in a perfect position to promote more tourism in our town by hosting another rest stop so close in time to the previous one. I'm already working with the city of Greenville, I just came from that meeting, and helping them prepare for their hosting the overnight event, and they're excited about it. I would like your endorsement to continue recruiting this event to pass through and stop in our town. I've already spoken with a couple of business leaders, our town manager, and chief of police, and they're all in support of this event coming to our downtown in the afternoon of October 3rd. While there were no problems 2 years ago, there are still a few things we can do to improve upon and achieve an even higher return on your previous investment of funds. Establishing a formal commission of citizens and town officials to continue working on our master pedestrian and bicycle plans. This, along with bicycle, pedestrian, and greenway issues, would go a long way to ensure equity, involvement, and collaboration. Strengthening our continuous commitment to the quality of healthy living here by hosting this event positions our area for future hosting on a possible triennial basis. To become a bicycle-friendly community, we need vision, support, and the involvement of others. I am not requesting any funding at this time, but with your consent, I'd like to continue pursuing the opportunity to promote and support our town again by achieving a rest stop in our downtown area on October 3rd with almost 2,000 cyclists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. You heard his request was to let him continue working on this. Does anybody have a problem with this? Okay, I guess, but lack of any stated issues, that'll be all right. Okay, that concludes our citizen presentation. Now, all of you know that February is Black History Month, and we have a proclamation here from myself proclaiming that, and I'd like to read it to you if I could. Whereas much of Farmville's honor, strength, and stature can be attributed to the diversity of cultures and traditions that are celebrated by residents of this town. And whereas African Americans have played significant roles in the economic, cultural, spiritual, and and political development of Farmville while working to maintain and promote their culture and history. And whereas as a result of their determination, hard work, knowledge, and perseverance, African Americans have made valuable and lasting contributions to Farmville, Pitt County, and the state of North Carolina, achieving success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas in 1976, African American History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of African American history throughout our American experience and services to promote cultural enrichment, ethnic pride, and self-esteem by celebrating the lives and contributions of great African Americans. And whereas during African American History Month, all Americans are encouraged to reflect on past successes and challenges of African Americans and look to the future to continue to improve society so that we may live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Now therefore, I, Robert L. Evans, Mayor of the town of Farmville, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim February 2019 as African American History Month in Farmville and urge all citizens to join me in paying tribute to the struggles and accomplishments of the African American and encourage appropriate programs and activities that honor the significant contributions African Americans have made to our town, state, and nation this, the 4th day of February 2019. Thank you all. Thank you for that recognition. Okay, town manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Just a few quick items. In your packet, there is behind information at the rear of the packet, there is the budget calendar for the coming budget season. Literally kicks off tonight with you getting that schedule, and it's pretty much the same schedule we've had for the last several years. So I just wanted to get it in your hands tonight. Couple other things. This board had expressed an interest in having the Pitt County Board of Education have a meeting in Farmville instead of having it in Greenville all the time. And Superintendent Linker called me last week and indicated that his board had discussed it and had asked that we set aside May 6th as their meeting day. They would like to meet in this room. Obviously, that's a meeting date for this board, and so they wouldn't conflict with you. And they're willing to work around, obviously, this board's schedule, but I wanted to see if that was okay with this board before I got back to him so he could confirm it with the Board of Education. They actually always meet on the first Monday, just like we do, so wanted to get some feedback on that so I could let them know.
Mayor,
Yeah.
when our first talk with the board about this, my suggestion was that this board would meet early, have a break between, because there may have to be some changing of seats or whatever. But and I said that I would ask the mayor and the town manager for a short agenda that night, that we may meet at 4:30 or 5, so that we could accommodate them and to turn around so that they can meet on their regular schedule, keeping their pace that they always do. So I think probably the thing to do was for us to meet that night, meet early, do dispatch our business, and then allow them to conduct their board, because we need to make it clear, this is not a question and answer. This is going to be an observation for us, for them to conduct the business of their board. This is not a public forum. It's a listen to them do their business.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Moore. I guess you want a affirmative vote tonight, or?
Yeah, I think they're trying to put it on their calendar as soon as possible, and I told them I couldn't give an answer until.
I have a problem with this
Till
May
after the
6th
meeting.
date, and we will have to work around it, as Commissioner Moore has said. But does everybody agree that we want to make this happen?
Yes, sir.
Anybody disagree? All right, David. May
Okay,
6th, and then-
and we'll come to you at a future meeting with a suggested time or moving your meeting earlier. Is that safe? Okay. Just a couple other quick things. You may recall that last year the town began participating in the Down East National Outdoor Sculpture Exhibition, and that is sponsored by the Pitt County Arts Council locally. And I talked with Holly Garrett last week, and of course, if you remember, we got a sculpture down at the community center, built a pedestal, and they tend to rotate these things around. And the artist wants to move that one to another site, then he wants to bring another one, whatever. So Holly was kind of, I don't know, she has a love of Farmville like we all do, I guess, and she has set aside the Best in Show sculpture for Farmville. And so she said, but I got to know right away. So I sort of made an executive decision. The mayor actually saw the picture too. You happened to come in right after I was talking to her. And it really truly is the best one of all available. So I went ahead and reserved it. I thought I was going to have a picture of it tonight, but I accidentally deleted the email that had the picture. So I did send her a new email asking her to resend that, and I'll send that out to you tomorrow so you have it. But I just want to let you know that the one that is there now will be removed in March, don't have an exact date yet, and replaced with the new one, which is colorful and just, like I said, it was judged as the best in show. And it happens to be by the same artist, so pretty excited about that. So wanted to let you know that. And then lastly, we have two new department heads I'd like to introduce you to. Some of you maybe already met them. Kaylin Gray is our new Parks and Recreation Director. Could you stand up? Come on. He started back on the, I think the 10th, is that right? 10th of January. And he's hit the ground running and made a lot of positive changes so far, and hopefully get everything where it should be. And I just would like to introduce him. And then we also have Justin Oakes. He's coming up. He's our new planning director, and he started on the 14th. So they're both brand new, and they both hit the ground running. Justin, you may remember, worked on the pedestrian bicycle plan back in 2012-13, and he worked for the Mideast Commission. So he's no stranger to Farmville. So both of them are like I said, hit the ground running. They're doing a great job, and they're so please get to know them too as you can when you're in town hall. And I don't know if you want to ask them any questions or whatever, but they're here to, you'll be seeing a lot more of them.
Anyone have any questions for these two gentlemen? If not, we welcome you to the town of Farmville, and certainly he said you hit the ground running, but you're going to have to keep running.
Yeah. Kalen has already attended his first Recreation Advisory Committee meeting, and Justin's got his first planning board meeting next week. So like I said, they're hitting the ground running. So
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for coming tonight.
That's all I have. Thank
All
you.
you had. Okay, the financial report is found in the agenda package. If you have any questions on that for Ms. Johnson. If not, we'll go on to the changes, additions, and deletions to the agenda.
Mayor had one suggested change, no addition or deletion, but our auditor's here. He had another meeting earlier, or had initially had a meeting earlier that was going to push him getting here later. That meeting canceled. He's here. And I was wondering if we could move him up on the agenda to perhaps maybe item 11. I know there's some folks here for item 9 and 10, but maybe put him after Chad at item 10. After Chad
9.
at item 10.
Okay, all right, board, what do you think about this?
I'd like to make a motion to move J in that too.
16 will move up to after 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, this is a suggestion by Commissioner Boyd. Is there a motion that we move this to that spot and approve the agenda as it's printed?
So moved.
Okay. Commissioner Moore has made a motion that we change this, we accept this change, and so all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. All right. Now we're down into the business part of our meeting. And the first thing is a public hearing. And I'll ask the...
Good afternoon, Mayor. The property we're talking about tonight is located at 4310 Wallace Street. It's Pitt County Parcel 127005. This is a commercial property. It's been vacant for several years. It was a funeral home when it was in operation. The owner of that funeral home passed away several years ago. The property was left to his son, I believe. His son passed away a couple of years ago, and I've been sending all the correspondence through his system. And I have sent 4 certified letters concerning this property. I've had no response to any of the letters. I did go down and inspect the property from outside. Someone was there to help me get into the building. And the following items were found. There's several windows working around the building, and I got pictures of that. There's wood rod around the facial boards. The ceiling is falling down in the front room. I think that was a chapel area. I'm not 100% sure. I was just keeping it pretty well. There's a standing bar in the side yard, and I also suspect that there's electrical component I think this property can probably turn over to the tax attorney. I think there's some value in the property considering the location and the condition of the building. It's a brick building, so I think it's probably some value to that. There's a lot of taxes owed on it. The county is owed $13,700. Town of Farmville is owed $8,200. And according to Opus, this building is valued at $100,000 with the land valued at $41,000 for a total of $142,000, which I counted it out and it's worked all that. And I think they would probably get a little bit on taxes, but anyway. We're also working with the tax attorney this time on 3 properties that are owned by the same family. So he's very familiar with the situation. At this time, I'm requesting the commission to move forward with the
Let's have a public hearing then. All right, you heard me say that this is a public hearing that is required of us before we demolish any structure. And this, all of you know that it used to be a funeral home, as he stated. And it has not been used in a while. So if you'd like to speak to us concerning this, please come forward, state your name.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I stand to represent the Ward family, which is my family. They owned that building for years. Mr. Ward, Joe Ward was my uncle. Archibald Jones was my great uncle. And my granddaddy started that business. He studied a home study course for mortician and got his license to funeral direct and be an embalmer back in the years. I stand before you. I have respondents to my cousin, which is in charge of all his estate, George Ward Clark. But I'm asking you to give us time to get some artifacts out of there that we need to find a place to store, because they're really important to us. My uncle worked hard to maintain that building, but family issues came down the road later. He passed. His son, my cousin Joe Ward, little Joe, he passed. And the business just went down. So I'm asking you to give us a little time so we can get into the building. Because I can get into the building, I've got a key. But we need to get into the building to get some artifacts out that we want to preserve. So if, I don't know what time frame you got, but I know it's going to take at least 90 days for me to get word to her, for her to come to the phone and do what she got to do. And I've been informed of this was going to happen because the electric service got cut. And when that happened, I called and told her. I told her brother while he was on the sick leave, if you could get this funeral home business, because the town farmer is getting rid of all this black neglected property. They got several residents it's on the same chopping block. But I'm not concerned about the residents, I'm concerned about the funeral home. Because my mom and I ran that business with my uncle, Archibald Jones, for years. So I'm asking the town to let us have time to get some things out of there that we really appreciate.
Okay. Now,
Thank you.
he asked for 90 days, you give him 90.
They will have 90 days anyway, because once this action is taken tonight, they have 90 days anyway. And we turn it over to the tax attorney, I can promise you will have more than 90 days. So you'll have plenty of time to get it out. We'll make sure that you get anything out that you wish to get
Can I
out.
get them figures about the taxes that were owed to the town?
Let me just give them to you.
Mayor, with the board entertaining the idea of just tabling this for 120 days. I like 90 days, but I know, 120 days, I'd be more comfortable, we would just table this and revisit it, and in 120 days. I mean, it's been almost 120 days, Brother John.
Yeah.
You agree?
Well, let's go ahead, maybe that'd be a motion that you can make after we
Yeah.
finish the public hearing.
That's
Okay,
all I
thank
have to say on behalf of the ward and the Joyner family.
Okay, thank you, John. Anyone else that would like to speak to this? Anyone at all? If not, I will close the public hearing at this time, and board will ask you for your decision. I think I already have a motion or close to it. Commissioner Boyle, you want to make a motion?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we table the structure for demolition at 4320 Wallace Street. We table that for 120 days.
All right, and so when we do the 120 days, that's not adding 30 to the 90 days. It's going to be 120.
Just bring it back in 4 months, maybe, is what you're saying.
That's why.
Yeah, okay. Then the 90 days starts again.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, board, you've heard the motion. Any discussion on this?
Let me just, I'd appreciate John's request and John Moore's motion, but I might add something to the motion that would give Paul the right to bring it back if, for example, the roof should collapse. You know, something should change at the building that would make it a environmental threat.
I have no problem with that, and at the same time, if John comes back and says, look, we've got what we need, we can move forward, that gives everybody an opportunity. Because that is, that's quite a story there.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of Commissioner Moore's motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and certainly the caveat that Commissioner Dixon said would. All right. That takes care of our public hearing. Now we're down for items for consent, and these are mostly appointments to the board, and so I'm not going to go through all of them. But if there's any you want to take off, please say so, and discuss, please say so. If not, I'd like a motion to accept these items by consent.
I'll make a motion, we accept these items by consent.
Okay, Commissioner Phelps' motion is to accept all of them. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now we're down to item, that takes care of item 2 through 8. Now we're on 9, and that's an update on Farmville Public Library. And I think David Miller is.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here tonight just to give you an update on a few items related to our facility project. Our temporary location, which is the old depot building on the corner of Walnut and Wilson, is expected for occupancy on May 10th. While the owner is upfitting the building for what it's going to be used after we leave the facility, we can use it sufficiently for the short term. And I would like to say that the list is growing of citizens who are interested in helping us with the move across the street. As far as our grant applications and funding status, we currently have $750,000 in grant applications that are pending and 3 additional applications that I'm currently working on. And of course, I'm always continuing to look for additional opportunities. We have currently raised $380,000 through a combination of grant awards, local donors, and fundraising events. We have 2 upcoming fundraising events I want to tell you about. The first is the Wine and Chocolate in the Stacks, which is on Saturday, February 23rd. There are still a few tickets available for that event if you're interested in attending. And the second event that we currently have scheduled is the Bookin' It 5K, which also serves as the town of Farmville's 5th annual 5K. And as an aside, I was able to coordinate this event with Pitt County's Couch to 5K program, which is basically a program that encourages individuals to start running. And I've been told that we'll have at least 100 additional runners and their families coming into Farmville for that day. So it'll be a great day for the library, police, and recreation. We're also putting on the event, but also Farmville in general. And our active friends of the library group are currently working on additional fundraising events that should be scheduled very soon. And finally, at the town planning retreats, Drew Wilgus and Rhonda Angerio from Smithson Architecture will be providing an update and providing information on our drawings, the bidding process, construction schedule, as well as additional items. Happy to answer any questions you might
Okay,
have.
anybody have any questions for David? I have one. You said that building would be available May 10th.
That's right.
You don't intend to move any books until we're ready to tear the library down, or what you gonna do?
Well, that is right. Once we get the go-ahead from the course of the board, I mean, we have to approve the final drawings and whatnot, and that all depends on, when you all approve the drawings, and that will affect the schedule. But once we get the go-ahead, then we'll be able to start working on moving everything over to the temporary facility. But it will be ready by May 10th, is what we're told. The earliest one we can occupy the building.
My question was related to, would you want to move them and the current building sit there empty until, because we had to pay rent?
Right, we would, once we're moved to the temporary facility, the idea would be to demolish the existing building so we can begin construction as soon as possible.
So you're ready to demolish it, tear it down this year? This spring?
That's the plan,
This spring.
according to our schedule.
Okay. All right, anybody else have a question?
The specifics of the schedule will be presented at the retreat, the whole timeline, so.
All right, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, next is the use of town soccer field by Farmville Middle School.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chad Moore, the athletic director at Farmville Middle School, and I'd like to request that Farmville allow us to use their brand-new, beautiful soccer field for our upcoming 6 home games. Farmville has a new field. Let's show it off to the entire county. We have 6 different schools coming in, reaching all the way from Bethel to Ayden, from Chicago back throughout Greenville. So I would ask that we use the field for those 6 home games.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Chad? All right, if not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow them to use our fields for these 6 home games.
All right, motion by Commissioner Elks that we allow this, and any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, that completes item 10, and I believe we said we were going to move 16 up to that, and so Jay, you're wrong.
Mayor, Commissioners, I appreciate you having me here tonight. Glad to be here. Our overhead didn't work out this time, so I'm gonna have to do this live in front of you without having an overhead.
Oh,
I know you all have had this for about a week now, so you're ready to come back, ready for questions, but, what we sent out a week ago was the 100+ page bound report. It is full of full financials for all funds, general fund, water, sewer, electric, all your projects. In short, our opinions were unmodified and clean, which is what you need to hear. We do have a couple small findings that I will go over after I start looking at the other bids. But You know, this year, because of the community development block grant or the mobile home sewer projects, you had about $2 million of CDBG funds. If you spend over $750,000 of federal money, you have to have what's called a single audit. So this year, in addition to us looking at your finances, we also had to do some special auditing procedures on the community development block grants for the Watkins mobile home project I did this year. So we have our opinion in the front that speaks to the financials, that says it's unmodified, and then we have some opinions in the back that speak to your use and management of the federal funds for community development block. So rather than go through the 100-page report, I'm going to go through what I normally go over on the other heads. I will try to be brief. So these are labeled as charts. You see across. The first few pages in your handout are just a letter. It's some required communications that I'm required to present to y'all to let you know that we had cooperation, we didn't have any problems with management, we weren't prohibited from seeing any information. So some of the first 2 or 3 pages just spell out to you all that we were given full access and assistance. But if you start with chart 1, it's us looking at your fund balance. Page numbers are on the bottom. The light blue is your total fund balance. The dark blue is the amount that you already have reserved or restricted. And you'll see you have a nice trend of some available. The difference in those 2 columns are the available fund balance. Chart 2 puts that into percentage form for you. You'll see that you have 28.92% fund balance, which is down from the prior year of 37. But the Local Government Commission requires that you have a minimum of 8%. That's about a month's worth of revenues. They recommend a good benchmark of 24%. So you'll see there you've ranged over the past 5 years, over that 24%. Now, one of the reasons for the decrease this year is a couple of things. You all implemented a pay rate study that was in effect for the full year. So you had a little bit of increase in personnel costs, and you had planned for and budgeted for a number of capital outlay expenditures in this last audit year. Several $100,000 was in the field, I think you were just referring to. You bought some tractors. You spent over $300,000 on capital items, a lot of sidewalk improvement. You did a lot of things that you had budgeted for and planned to spend. So this decrease in fund balance shouldn't alarm you, because you intended to do it and budgeted for it. But you're still at a healthy fund balance, even after incurring these items. So another thing that took away from that was you used $291,000, I believe, to balance the 18-19 budget. You all haven't used fund balance in the past to balance your budget, but in this budget that you're in now, you actually use some fund balance to budget it. That actually accounted for about 5% of the decrease, just by using that fund balance. So again, planned expenditures, increased personnel costs as a result of pay studies. I mean, that's your main reason in this decline, but you're still at a healthy level. Then I'm going to zip through. We sort of look at. You have a lot of funds with projects going on, but we kind of look at your general fund, which is the main fund of the county, and then we take your water, sewer, and electric. They're your enterprise funds, and we sort of lump them together. So you'll see the dark blue fund is your general fund. The light blue are your enterprise funds. So you'll see that the general fund has operated at a deficit, while your water, sewer, and electric, mainly electric, has helped carry it. And this is before you make transfers. If you flip to page 3, you then, because you have common management and personnel in place that are helping all funds, you all do some transfers from your water, sewer, and electric to help with the administrative cost of your town manager, your finance officer, and so forth. So chart 3A actually shows that general fund loss not being quite so big after you bring in some of the revenues from your enterprise funds. 3B looks at just your electric fund by itself.
And you'll see that, I think it was 2.5 years ago or so, when Electric Cities made their changes, you all passed some savings along to the town residents in the form of some utility decreases. You'll see that sort of reflected in what you were making in the utility, in the electric fund. That little bit of stair-step decline was intentional with some of y'all lowering the electric prices. So again, the light blue box is what you made in the electric fund. The dark blue box is what it showed after you transferred money to the general fund. Chart 3C, again, shows your markup on electricity. And if you look back at 14 and 15, you know, it's a little higher than it has been the last several years since you made the adjustments. Chart 3D is your water fund. Again, your water fund is operating at a surplus, and that's just the light blue line is before transferring money to the general fund, the dark blue is after. 3E is your sewer fund. And again, it's really no surprise, most municipality sewer funds are not, you know, in the best shape, but you'll see here this sewer fund is probably the fund that's lagging behind, and I would challenge you to, you know, keep an eye on your rates. You know, it's almost at a break even, not too bad, but you do need to, you know, monitor your sewer rates, keep that on the forefront, not let this, you know, get away from you before you consider looking at rates. No one wants to hear that, but, you know, maintaining your sewer system is it's a necessary evil. But I just challenge you to keep your eye on that, because it is just a little below break even. Chart 4, you all got over, well, really about $65 million worth of assets around town. Lines, wells, tanks, transformers. You know, it takes money to keep these things updated, going. The light blue line is the dollar value of fixed assets that you have. The aqua line there in the middle represents the portion of those assets that's worn up, the useful life that's been incurred. And then the dark blue line is the cash. You know, ideally that dark blue line would keep up with the aqua line, so as you were wearing the asset out, you would replenish the cash to replace it. You know, that's not really possible without charging an exorbitant rate. So, you know, you've maintained about a 20% cash, which is, again, if you had to do something really major, you know, a lot of times you would hope to be able to get a grant, but you can't always count on that. So you gotta keep some funds aside to help keep all your assets in good working order. So that's really just to let you know where your cash stands compared to the useful life being used up of these assets. And you'll see it's been around 20% for the last 5 years, a little above. Chart 5 shows the town's property tax rate. It's at 49 cents per hundred. And then it shows you the state average. You all haven't had a property tax increase in some time. Chart 6 shows your property tax collection rate of 94.30. That's down a little bit from 95.68. The state average is in the pink line. You'll see you all have run a little below the state average, and you're actually, the gap is widening. So it's really need to point out to you to, you know, make all efforts to try to collect property taxes. There's debt set off, but you know, I challenge you for your tax department to stay on top of collection. Now this 94%, that's as of June 30th. Today that number paid, you know, is probably significantly more. This is measured as of June 30th. So the bills go out in August. So, you know, this is June 30th. So this is just a point in time. But again, you're below the state average as far as collection percentage for your property taxes. Chart 7 just shows your property tax valuation and your tax levy. The last couple of years, you all have had a little over $330 million worth of property that's generated like $1.6 million worth of revenue. So that's been fairly consistent the last 2 years. That's kind of it for hitting the highlights of the numbers.
Any questions on the numbers, the fund balance, or any of your utility operations?
Jay, a lot of folks in that gallery night for the first time, folks like Mayor Evans and I, we were here when we were down to the 8% and the state was about to take us over, and we were in big trouble, big trouble. Mayor and I were here during that time, and we've come a long way. I think if you could kind of put this in like a paragraph so the folks that are in the gallery tonight would know, A, this board is a good steward of the money, A, and B, that we're in good shape. We don't have money to give away, but we're in good shape.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, for sure. Again, the state, the minimum requirement is 8%. A good goal is 24%. You all are at 28. So, you're well above the required average. You're in good financial shape. And yes, several years ago when this got low, the board took action, made the necessary cuts, adjusted fees, did what they needed to do to get your fund balance back healthy and to maintain the healthy fund balance. So the town of Farmville is in sound shape.
Go ahead.
Is it possible to predict how the current pay scale will have an effect on, is it possible to predict where we're going to be at, what we're going to be hearing next year at this time? Are we going to be hearing 29 again, or are we going to be hearing 22?
There's too many factors for me to answer that right now. All I know is that you fully implemented a pay study.
It was implemented for this entire period?
This entire year in this audit.
Okay.
So now as far as what's happened since you crossed years.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. I was thinking it was only part of the year. But
This June 3rd, this is from July 1 to 17 to June 30, 18. And I think this is a full year or pretty.
Okay. Yeah, some of them, yeah, there was, part of it was initially was January 1 of the previous year.
Okay.
So you have half a year.
Half a year and then all of a year, right.
A full year.
Good.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know what you've done into this.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, but I can't.
No, that's fair. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I got a couple things in the back I need to go over.
Okay, I got a question. Can you say more about the money we spent out of the fund balance, the 290,000?
Yes.
Which would represent 5%.
Probably, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, all right, more about that. Basically, you all go through a budgeting process every year, and you set your revenues and offset by expenses. And somebody has to help me with why you use fund balance, but in the budget that you've adopted for the year you're in right now, you chose, you used $290,000 of fund balance.
I think the biggest, I think the biggest part of this, I think we talked about this earlier, a week or so ago. We were finishing up that ball field over there. Remember, like we had budgeted, I think it was like 70,000, and it ended up costing like a couple $100,000 because some of the earlier efforts, we were trying to do things in-house, and it just, it didn't meet standards, and so we had to bring somebody in. That's when we brought in, a professional to grade it, using the computerized grading. We sodded it, irrigation, lights, all those things we did all at once. So I think that's probably the bulk of it. And none of that, well, a little bit of it was budget, but nothing close to what it actually cost.
Now, the 28% that you see now already takes that into consideration.
I know, but if you had 5%, we'd be up to 33%, which would be the second best year is on this chart. And I didn't recall us making a conscious decision to spend out of fund balance. I don't know what the rest of it is or not.
But that's like, if I was comparing it to my family, it'd be like if I saved $2,000 a year for 5 years to buy a car, and in the fifth year I bought a $10,000 car, I'd be using my savings to buy the car that I'd been saving for, as opposed to borrowing the money to buy.
That's a very good analogy.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You all, a lot of these expenditures you anticipate, you might not have anticipated them costing you quite as much as they ended up. But fortunately, you had the fund balance to cover. Sidewalk money. Sidewalk, you spent over $150,000 on sidewalks.
Yeah.
And again, that's the same way. You sort of, you get power bill money, you build up, so you've had some fund balance, and now, you had a big year of spending on sidewalks.
One other thing, and Jay can certainly attest to this, and I know this board has an aversion to debt. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that's actually a pretty good thing. You want to do things on a pay-as-you-go basis. We don't have any general fund debt. I don't think there's many towns in North Carolina that can say that. Zero debt in general fund. So those things like the park, you know, the ball field, the sidewalks, all that stuff was done on a cash basis using the funds we had on hand, your savings account, if you will.
I think it needs to be said too, that we haven't borrowed any money.
Right.
I mean, we haven't borrowed anything, and I think what Commissioner Dixon said, if we saved up and we've got enough to do the project, we did. That's right. And I got
I mean, that's exactly right, yeah. Okay, any more questions before I run to the, all right, in the back of the report, as I said, you had what's called a single audit that required us to come in and look at some of your controls and how you manage the community development block grant money. So if you know, in your big audit report, on page 109 and 110, we had two findings. One finding was 18.1 that just, you know, and I hate putting this finding in here, but we have to. When you have to rely on somebody to write this report for you, that's just inherently easy to read. Amy, as good as she is and as much as she does, she's not trained in disclosures and writing this unpaid audit. So you all are kind of relying on us to put this together. We audit 20 municipalities, and it's in every one I do. I mean, unless you're in a big town, Wake County, somewhere they can afford to have a CPA on staff who's trained in auditing disclosures and writing reports, you got this finding. So that's listed as just not having personnel in place that can write these financials. That's just deemed nowadays with the rules to be a finding if you can't do that. So that's been in here for a number of years. That's finding number one. Finding number two deals with the CDBG project, which was the Watkins Mobile Home. With community development block grant funds, you have a 3-day requirement, meaning once you request and pull down funds, you have 3 days to disperse them. In this case, you will see you all requested funds and went a number of days without getting them dispersed. Several things, you know, a lot of this it sounds like the state used to send an email or fax over that alerted Amy that the money was here and she would know to spend it. Somewhere over this last period of time, that email stopped coming, the faxes stopped coming. You've been going through a computer conversion. I mean, you've had a lot going on, and that just fell by, you know, that got overlooked. The other part of that is you relied on an engineering firm to help you manage this project, and I don't think they brought it to your attention. So several catch-alls failed.
This is what, right?
Yes. So what happened as a result, the state actually come in and looked at this project themselves, and what they found was, since you weren't following the 3-day requirement, they made you start spending your own money, and then they would reimburse you. You know, so the downside of this is you have to use your own money for a period of time, as opposed to, you know, what would have been using their money. Now, next project, you just need to be aware of this. Everybody is. There's really nothing you can do about it for the rest of this project. They've said you're going to spend your money, then we'll reimburse you, rather than the other way around. Fortunately, you have the funds, you know, available to cover that shortfall. And again, it's just a timing thing. When you're getting back everything that you're spending, it would just be nicer to be spending their money rather than your own, you know, in the interim while invoices are being approved and so forth. But that is required to be presented. The community development block grant, because of the size of the money, specified the audit procedures that we come in and perform, and so that's spelled out for you. Other than that, I would say you have a glowing, I mean, no budget violations, good fund balance. I mean, everything in very good shape. We are a little later than normal, but you all went through a computer conversion that caused a little bit of delay. You had a hurricane. You had to have another post-employment benefits actuarial study this year that the results didn't come until the end of November. Then I had unfortunately, Mr. Barrett passed away in September.
put our office behind a little bit. So the fact that I'm here now instead of a month ago, really probably unavoidable for you for this year for a multitude of reasons. So you all are lucky to have the finance officer and manager that you have, and they do you a great job. So us being here a month late doesn't need to be pinned on them. I mean, that's just, I think you just had a bad, everything fell together at one time that just caused a little bit of a delay.
Jay, 3-4 years ago, in a retreat, identified the biggest issue. One of the biggest issues facing Farmville is our sewer and the cost of our sewer. Is that what the farm people need to hear now, that that's still an issue with them?
That has not changed, and the three charts that we just looked at, we saw what sewer was doing, what electric was doing, what water was doing, and sewer was definitely bringing up the rear.
Okay, am I to believe that now we're going into the retreat, that two things that we need to focus on? One, we have a company collecting our taxes. We need to concentrate on property taxes, and we need to concentrate on sewer. Those are two main issues that really need to be addressed in the retreat. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not suggesting that you have to raise rates, but you can see where they're at. And again, if you need to cover the service, but you need to also make a little money to have some reserves set aside to help keep it maintained and replenished and repaired. And right now, you're not setting any funds aside for sewer. You're just barely.
Well, it's been an issue 12 years I've been here, so maybe we'll come up with an answer this time. But I think too, it's important that folks at Farmville hear again where we are. And most folks know how we got here, so thank you.
Well, thank y'all very much.
Good job. As a citizen, thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank you.
All right, board, you've heard that.
And this has been approved by the local commission.
Okay.
So it's good.
So we want to approve this audit report. So is there a motion that we approve? Okay, motion by Commissioner Shackford that we approve this audit report and accept it. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all. Appreciate it.
All right, beginning with item 11, we have a few sale of surplus real property that we had discussed in the previous meeting. Number 11 is one that authorizes the sale of property at 3818 South Main Street. Because of particulars, Commissioner Dixon will not participate in this one, but is there a motion by someone that we approve this sale?
I move that we approve the
Okay.
sale of property.
Okay, the motion has been made by Commissioner Hobbs. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Let the record show that four positive votes, and the Commissioner Dixon abstaining. All right, item number 12 is sale of surplus property on 4359 Railroad Street. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Elks that we approve this sale. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Item 13 is another real property at 4363 Railroad Street. By the way, these are going to a fellow, anybody remember his name?
Barry Newton.
Barry Newton. 4363 Railroad Street. Is there a motion? Okay, motion by Commissioner Hobbs that we approve this sale. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. Now we're down to item 14. Is another sale of property, real property, at this time at 4371 Railroad Street to the same gentleman, Barry Newton. Is there a motion?
Motion that we...
Okay, motion by Commissioner Shackford that we approve this sale. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? No, the ayes have it. Now, based on my sheet here, I think we're down to item 15, and this is consideration of a sewer line and infrastructure reimbursement agreement.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of the board, some of you may recall, and some of you weren't on the board at the time, but this issue first came to this board back in 2008. I wasn't here either. But anyway, this subdivision, Downton's Cove, was a 43-lot subdivision that was proposed for some land across from the high school. And there was a plan submitted, it was approved by the town, and then the economy went down the tube there for a while. The developers put it on hold, and then a couple years ago, they resurrected the plan. It went through the process again. It was approved by the planning board and this board. And part of the development of the site involved the 43 lots, like I said, and there is no water, or I'm sorry, there's no sewer to the site that's being developed. And there's the necessity of bringing the sewer up from Davis Drive to the edge of the subdivision, and then the developers picking it up at the edge of the subdivision and bringing it up to Wilson Street, which would be sort of the front or the entrance of the subdivision. There was a discussion with this board about the subdivision participation plan, and this board voted to increase participation in this subdivision for reimbursement for water, sewer, street, sidewalks, things like that, from 40% to 50%, with the idea that they would do a nice attractive berm, a nice attractive entranceway sign, entranceway to the development, and begin as soon as possible. So that sort of brings you up to the current place. At this point, they are interested in working with the town on a cost sharing for the infrastructure in the subdivision, specifically the sewer. And this agreement that's in front of you, and I'm going through this very quickly, we can sort of get into the details as we need to, but this basically sets forth where the town would pay for the extension of the sewer to the edge of the subdivision, and then advance the cost of the sewer up so that they can start at the front of the subdivision with their houses, do the first 13 lots, get everything going, and then repay the town over the course of a 10-year period for that infrastructure. All the while building houses, and then sort of convoluted in that they would repay us back for the sewer, and through the sale, as each house is sold and COs are issued, we would front them the money, and then they would repay us as the subdivision advances. After the 10-year period, if they have not developed all the lots, then there would be a deed of trust that would be that would in essence transfer the balance of the subdivision back to the town, and we would be holders of title to the remainder of the subdivision. So it's in their best interest to develop as quickly as possible and do obviously a viable subdivision. The discussion centered around, new single-family homes. There's actually some demand for homes in the area now, and these would be, the developers are here if there are any questions that way, but they are desiring to build something that the town can be proud of. It's also in the vicinity of the schools, so in theory you'd have a lot of folks right across the street from the schools, kids walking to school, that kind of thing. So this agreement is just institutionalized or formalizes an arrangement for advancing the money and then getting repaid over time for this subdivision. So I've gone through that very quickly. There's also a couple of changes that have happened to the agreement since your packet was done. They're minor changes, clarifications that the two attorneys worked on, and I think I put that at your place. It was like a back in front of a page, I think, or maybe 2 pages or so. And we can point out those changes too at the point that's appropriate. So
Okay, anybody have any questions for David on this?
I have,
Okay.
is the initial and estimated cost for the extension 150,000? Does that include the advance as well, or is that the total cost?
No, that's in addition to the advance. There's two parts.
So there would be more.
There's part off-site and then there's a part inside the subdivision.
And it's,
Now, the 150 is our responsibility because it's serving
So that
more
would
than,
not be reimbursed.
right, it's just the
It's
part
just
that's
the
within,
advance that would be.
that's right, the part inside the subdivision, through the subdivision participation program, which is available to any subdivision, not just this one.
Anybody else with a question for David? As he indicated, we do have the principals here, and Don Parrott and Ed Murphy, and we appreciate you gentlemen coming and meeting with us. I don't know whether you have any comments you want to make, or if y'all want to ask them a question.
I would maybe now's as good a time as any to say this. I'm Ed Murphy, and you had stated we had been working on this project since 2008. And what did they say? It takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes the same thing to get a housing development. It has been a tremendous project to do. I wanted all of the people who are here from the town to understand what a good group of people that you have and how hard they work to try to put these kind of projects together. And we certainly thank the commissioners for their efforts over the 10 years, met many times with the mayor, with the town manager, and with all of the other people who are involved in this. And we've all got together, and we put together a project that we think the town will be very proud of. I think the price of the homes is going to be in the neighborhood of $225,000 to $250,000. One of our objectives was to have a really nice entrance coming into Farmville, and we feel like that a large part of the road from Farmville is on the Greenville side of town, and so that would be a great place to have a nice looking entrance, and right there across from the school where everybody goes. So one of the things and you did a really good job. One of the things that we got called in for the time frame from 2008. At that time, there was no requirement by the state to have a stormwater drainage and since that point in time, that changed, and it required us to spend an additional $200,000 that we had not anticipated spending in the beginning. So that's one of the reasons that we've asked the town to help us for So I did want to thank the commissioners, and the town manager, and mayor, and everybody who's been involved for all that you've done over a period of time, and hopefully we'll get something done that everybody can proud of. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Murphy, thank y'all for what y'all are doing, and I'm gonna probably ask the question a lot of people are asking, what's your timeline like? I mean, we're all excited about it and looking forward to it. Can you give us some insight?
Yeah, I'm Don Merritt, who represents Houses, BDR LLC. At this time, we're building a project in Aiden, as well as a couple of projects in Greenville. And we're excited about this project because I think it's going to be a big asset to the town, and it's going to be something that's going to be special that maybe hasn't been done in quite a while. But the time frame on this, to answer your question, is as soon as we can get the engineering completed, because of the detention pond that's got to be installed and work through the plans. That's going to take a while to get that done. That's the first thing we've got to do is get all the working drawings and plans done to be able to start developing the front of the subdivision. But the first 13 lots are going to be in front of the subdivision across the field, and then we'll just see how things go from there. This time, we feel like it's going to be a special project this time.
Thank you, Tom. Ed. Anyone else have questions of these gentlemen?
Comments, Mayor.
All right.
I've known Ed and Don for a long time, and I consider them very dear friends of mine, so I knew this was going to be a first-class operation. What really piqued my interest in this development One of the things that our community lacks is our teachers and principals living in the community in which they work. And I see a lot of heads bobbing out there, and some of you folks remember when the teachers and the principals lived where they worked. It was a different environment. You didn't have to have a PTA meeting to talk to them. You could talk to them in the clubs that were here. And one of the things that concerned the mayor and I some years ago was why the teachers were not living here in Farmville. Connie Moore Corey, my sister, brought us a report to the retreat.
I'll be glad to.
We all got to see it.
Really
It's
haven't
become quite
asked any
a
questions
valuable
about
asset
specifics.
because it affirmed the fact that we did not have the housing. So with 43 houses possibly being built and the schools being right across the street, it will encourage people that teach school to move to Farmville. It will encourage people to have their children here to come to Farmville and be here. And it will fill up our schools where we have some empty seats right now. I mean, but there are a few. So this whole project right here of bringing principals and teachers back to Farmville would be a tremendous asset because having 4 schools on one county and the schools being our largest employer, this just makes good business sense to us. And so, Ed, Don, thank you for bringing this to us. It's a great opportunity for Farmville. And I've been in the meetings numerous times, and I have no problem endorsing this. And I am excited about it because I think the biggest winner in this is going to be our school system because it would make an opportunity for people to move here that you would know a teacher and they would be here after the bell rings in the afternoon. And I think there are probably at least 4 more people on this board that will agree with me on that because it has been a topic of why teachers don't live where they work. And so thank you for that.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the time, we have $150,000 in the project, which theoretically would be before you build a house. And just trying to figure out maybe a timeline based on the agreement, it looks like that it would certainly be no more than 5 years from the time that we gave you $150,000, but it could be up to 5 years. How much of your, I mean, and I like the idea, but I just feel like we need to have some justification. How much we all have invested at the time we have $150,000? I mean, we all have somewhere in the lines of $500,000 to $1 million invested in it. So we're looking at being a 10% partner, 20% partner.
That's probably close. We've got to buy the land, and Ed's going to be part of this project as well, as far as bringing the land to the table. And then we've got to develop the entrance, and we've got to put in the stormwater detention pond, we got the drainage, just the detention pond, and the stormwater is $100,000. So we probably have, I'm just estimating, maybe $300,000 in the project before we get started. Because we've got to put water, sewer, roads, sidewalks, everything in the front part of the subdivision. Just $150,000 is just bringing sewer to the project. So we'll probably have at least $300,000 in the project before we can settle on it.
The other thing is, all this is concurrent. We're doing our sewer, but they're doing other improvements like the water coming in from Wilson, stormwater, street, rough grading and streets and things like that. So it's not like we're building the sewer line and then they haven't started anything. All this stuff is concurrent. They're working on their end, we're working on our end, for lack of a better description, as far as we're on one end of the subdivision, they're on the front end.
I believe you have 40-some lots right there, and you're going to build 42, and you're going to build on 13 of them. And that will be right.
The first phase will be 13 lots.
And that will be off the Wilson Street side. And then you turn and go back in behind those other houses. All right. Board, is there a motion that we adopt this plan, or approve the plan, so these gentlemen can move forward?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the reimbursement amendments for the sewer service for South Cove subdivision.
All right. Well, you've heard the motion now by Commissioner Moore that we approve this, which will allow them to begin doing some real work out there. Is there any discussion? Feel free to do so.
Let me just, because I don't want to vote on something I don't understand. So we spend $150,000 and everybody here is going to see, what are they going to see for our money? Like what's going to look different?
Well, what are you gonna see? You're not gonna see any of that because it's gonna be underground, 150,000. But you'll see, we'll start, when you start on the sewer coming from Davis Street, is that right?
Davis Drive.
Davis Drive.
Davis Drive, and we'll start on the front because we want to get all that done and to get the entrance and the detention pond and the sewer in that area as well. We've got to pay for that, and on those 13 lots, when we build those 13 lots and we sell the houses there, the town will be reimbursed for the money that you're putting out in the sewer line.
We don't have a plat. Do we have a plat here that we can look at?
We don't, I've got one in the office.
So those 13 lots, are they, because we don't have it, I'm sorry. They're houses facing Wilson Street, is that where they are?
They'll be facing the new street that we will put in.
So
That will be off of Wilson Street.
Right.
Right.
it'll essentially be Davis Drive extension? No?
I don't know.
It'll be a new street. It'll be a new street. It'll eventually wind its way through the subdivision and hook up with Davis Drive. But
Okay, so there'll be some kind of entrance before you get to the church that turns into the vacant field now.
Right.
And
Right.
eventually connects with Davis.
there's another street, isn't there, that's Meadow, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Meadow Lane or Meadow Drive or something that's already there. It's not really open. I mean, it's there, it's graded, but it's right beside, there's a house right next door. Right now, I mean, really next to it, like on the right of way practically. So there's actually more than one entrance off of Wilson.
So the 13 houses will face the interior street.
Yeah.
Right, you'll see a nice berm and plantings on Wilson, and then you'll see this entrance with you talked about like a little island or something maybe, and then houses off of this new street entering.
That will be like parallel to Wilson Street or perpendicular to Wilson
Perpendicular.
Street? Perpendicular. Okay.
That would be the main entrance. That entrance would look very nice.
So we will see a entrance with a street long enough for 13 houses to be built on it, Correct. It won't be long enough to connect to Davis Drive yet, our street where our sewer's coming from. But it'll be
stuck.
800 feet long or whatever it
We
is.
won't be more than 40% of the way in.
Okay, and it'll just kind of be a dead end until you get to phase 2.
Well, it'll kind of turn, it'll be a cul-de-sac before you get to where it turns. Where there'll be like 4 houses on that cul-de-sac.
Okay, but it'll look like, so it will look like a subdivision at that point. It'll just look like a small subdivision.
Very much so.
Okay, very good.
Then I have a follow-up question. Since it's going to be a subdivision, would it be a planned community with the home association?
Yes, ma'am.
So that it-
I'll mention it because
Yes,
It will be. Yeah, okay.
All right, any more questions? I think we have a motion on the floor, do we not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, you ready to vote? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. We look forward to what you're gonna be doing out there. All right, that takes care of item 15. 16, we've already done. 17 is the consideration of
Not
the
really, but
final agenda for the board for the retreat. You gonna do that, Dave?
Sure. Yeah, this is you see this in draft form. You saw it last meeting. Since that time, I've incorporated a couple other things. But this is it's similar to the same, the format you had last year. You've got project updates at the beginning, then you have specific topics that are related to, more in-depth discussions of topics at the library. greenway, recreation programs, fire station update, things like that. And then we've got another section that is getting into parks and recreation, the master plan, the PARTF grant, and the site-specific plan for the municipal park. And then after that, there's a discussion on economic development issues, and then at the end of the day, you get into some finance issues, revenue expenditure outlook, debt service outlook, and then lastly, you have things, and this may get to what Commissioner Moore was speaking about earlier related to the audit, utility rates, if there's any employee compensation issues, that point, and any staffing issues would also be discussed then. So, you know, the only thing that's really changed, we added something related to recreation, and then on the second day, I added a discussion about capital improvement program, because we don't have, we have a water and sewer CIP, which is a 5-year plan. We don't really have anything for parks and recreation, which would include greenways too, public buildings and streets. And I think in order to sort of map out your financial needs in the capital area, capital projects for the next 5 years, you really need to look at a plan every year and develop one. So I've talked to Rich Moore, and we're actually meeting in a few days just to talk about some issues and costs. And that would be identifying the capital projects, the timing, funding sources, and how much they're going to cost. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we've got on tap. And at this point, just asking for confirmation of the schedule, or, I mean, the agenda, or any sort of changes that you might see. I know Commissioner Elk sent out an email that's touched on two things, but I think they're already covered under some general categories on that end of day one, I believe. So,
David, I think you might want to address item 19 on day one before the meal cranks up. Utility rate, what does that mean?
we normally give a projection of water. Well, we look at water, sewer, electric, and garbage rates and project what we might do. And it's nothing more than, well, garbage rates would be subject to any sort of increase that Waste Industries gives us. So if they go up, we would just match, you know, so that we don't lose any money. Electric rates are dependent on electric cities coming back with any sort of wholesale changes. We didn't have any changes last year. Water, we've had changes periodically or regularly because we were trying to build a reserve because of the LaGrange contract that we had. That has actually gone away now, so we may have to look at water rates. And then sewer, we need to have a discussion about sewer rates. So it's just, it's a general discussion, but it also leads to, you would give me direction on what you want to look at in the budget. It's a review, but then also, what do you think, and this is what I think, what do you think as far as coming into the budget? But it's still very preliminary because we don't know. It's still several months before the end of the year, fiscal year, so it's just a projection is what it is.
Am I right in assuming that what I'm seeing on the retreat pretty much parallels or mirrors what Jay told us tonight in our report?
Yes, sir. All the things he addressed would be addressed on this day one of the retreat.
Okay. Any more questions? All right, is a motion to state that this is what the board agrees to for their retreat? Do let's have it.
I move that we accept the agenda for the retreat.
Okay, motion is by Commissioner Hobbs that we accept this retreat agenda. By the way, that will be held up here this year. Any discussion? All those in favor, please let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No, the ayes have it. Then we have a couple items for, one item, I guess, for information. And the first one is on the budget calendar.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning under my report. It's just for information. It's the schedule, timing that we had last year, just everything's off of, I believe, a day because of the calendar. Still looking at you getting the budget on May 6th, and you would have one or more work sessions in the intervening time between May 6th and June, can't remember the exact date, the first Monday in June, June 3rd, which would be the public hearing and hopefully adoption. So it's the same schedule you've had for every year I've been here. So.
All right, no action to take on that.
No, sir, no.
However, there are minutes from January the 7th, regular meeting, item number 19. Not sure why it's at this position, but...
That was, if you recall, Mike Barnett came last meeting, and that was the minutes that the board approved or authorized approval of so that we could close out the CDBG grant. So you've already approved them, or you authorized, the board authorized the mayor to approve them. And so these are just in here as for information.
Okay, so it's already been done.
Yes, sir, yeah. That's why you didn't see those at the beginning of the meeting.
All right. Okay. I think that does away with the agenda items. Now we're down to, if you still have your agenda that you picked up when you came in the room, we're down to citizen comments, and that's where you can address this board about anything that you've seen going on here this evening.
Good evening once again. I think the development is a great idea. I think the growth of our town is fantastic. I am concerned though about safety. I have nothing against Mr. Murphy or man like this, but the idea to sell this subdivision as a safe way for teachers and principals and children to walk to school concerns me. Farmville has not yet adopted a complete street policy at all. To my understanding, the original plan that was approved about 4 or 5 years ago was a sidewalk on one side of the subdivision. When I drive out to Greenville almost every morning, I see school buses, I see a police car at the church which parked every morning, I see people driving off. It's a heavily trafficked area. There is no, to my memory, any discussion ever about how those children, teachers, or parents, or principals would ever walk from the subdivision safely across that street in the morning. It is a school zone, with sidewalk on one side of the road only, completely missing on the church side. How would you cross that road safely? I just feel responsible to speak out about a potential problem that I can foresee occurring.
Well, eventually sidewalks are going to be placed on the opposite side of town. I mean, on the opposite side of the street, because we completed one side, and am I right, David, that eventually there will be sidewalks on the opposite side? And then if and when the time comes that there will be people that need to cross across, then we will address that.
Okay, I'm just trying to be preventive, that's all. Thanks for your time.
I'd like to add to that, I think the chief is probably way ahead of this. I am sure that the developers are way ahead of this, and I am sure that in our sidewalk plan, our traffic plan, and with Pitt County Schools, that issue will be addressed. I don't think there's been an accident out there with kids being hit. And I think giving this board the option and the time, I'm sure that'll be figured out. It's not like somebody riding a bike on a main thoroughfare and almost causing head-on collisions. There's a little bit of difference with that. But I think if you'll get the board benefit of this absence paragraph, we'll cover that.
All right. Anyone else that wants to address this board? If not, board, before we adjourn, is there, Commissioner Moore, do you have anything else you want to?
No, I think I laid it out there pretty good.
Okay. Commissioner Ellis.
Yes, sir.
Second. And Damon and Ms. Hall. Have nothing. All right. Then appreciate you all coming, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. All any opposed, no. We stand adjourned.